that while we have put some federal funding and some good work has been done, much more needs to be done. So to my point, that's a given, all right? But what I want to go beyond that, and it's to ask all of you, starting with Dr. Harkins, is if I am an individual with long COVID, as people in this room are and people in another room are, the overflow room, give us some optimism here. Where do you think?
16 million people had already been approved. The money was literally about to go out the door. And then Republican elected officials and special interests stepped in. They said, no. Literally snatching from the hands of millions of Americans thousands of dollars in student debt relief that was about to change their lives. You know, these Republican officials just couldn't bear the thought of providing relief for working class, middle class Americans. Republican state officials sued my administration, attempting to block relief, including millions of their own constituents. Republicans in Congress voted to overturn the plan. I think every one. I don't think I had any Republican votes for this plan. At the same time, think about this. We all supported the Paycheck Protection Program, remember? PPP, you know, which was designed to help business owners who lost money because of the pandemic.
20 taxes. Several changes from 2019 tax returns could make you eligible for more stimulus money. If you had a baby in 2020, if you claimed another dependent in 2020, or if you made less in 2020 than 2019. And don't worry, you won't lose any stimulus money if you made more in 2020. But be ready to wait for your check. The IRS has until the end of the year to send plus-up payments.
If you don't get it by December 31st, then it will be on your next year's tax return.
Another reason for delay? If you didn't have the correct amount of stimulus money.
Low-income families can also get stimulus checks this year. The majority of taxpayers received their refunds in November, though some people are still waiting for money. The State Revenue Service said that those are eligible who have not received the checks yet should just wait by December 29th to receive the stimulus, if you haven't gotten one already. And it still needs to clear several steps before it becomes law. Last week, the mayor said that he'd revealed the details of the plan to send monthly checks from Missouri to low-income families. The plan calls for using $5 million in federal crisis aid to send $500 to families for 18 months. Now, around 3 million Massachusetts residents are set to receive tax rebates worth around 14% of what they paid in state income taxes. Folks, get ready for stimulus, it's here. I finally have some good news about the Ford stimulus check, and this time it is the truth. There is a ton of information that I want you guys to know about the Ford stimulus payment. A ton of news that you have to cover. The rebates will be sent directly to taxpayers' bank accounts through direct deposit. Otherwise, the rebate will be sent as a check in the mail for those who do not have direct deposit set up. The total received for the rebates is a set of fractions of one paid income tax, meaning higher earners will earn much more than that. A person who makes $35,000 will receive $200, while someone who makes $1 million would receive $7,000. There's plenty of time for people to file a tax return, as the deadline for this rebate is extended through September of next year. Prices rose less than expected, and the latest sign is that the runaway inflation has been gripping the economy even worse. The Labor Department reported again that the Consumer Price Index, which measures a wide basket of goods and services, rose just 0.1% from the previous month and increased 7.1% from a year ago. Economists had already been expecting a 0.3% monthly increase and a 7.3% 12% monthly rate. So the increase from a year ago, while above the Federal Reserve's target for a healthy inflation level, was tied for the lowest since November. It excludes volatile food and energy prices, and so-called the Core Consumer Price Index rose 0.2% and 6% on an annual basis. Joe Biden celebrated today the positive Consumer Price Index report. He said that it showed inflation is easing in the country ahead of the holiday season. Biden also said we had learned last month that the inflation rate has come down from what many experts expected, in a world where inflation is rising in double digits in many major economies around the world. The easing suggests that the Federal Reserve's interest rate increase could be working as intended, and the Fed may be able to change and achieve the soft landing it wants to achieve, and avoid a large-scale economic shutdown. The report is likely to be reassuring of the Fed and the central bank Jerome Powell when it comes to its meeting on Wednesday. The Fed is expected to only increase interest rates by half point, as opposed to the 3/4 points it has deployed throughout the year. The report marks the 5th month in a row where the rate of inflation has declined in the United States. Biden said, I want to be clear, it's going to take time to get inflation back to normal levels as you make the transition to a more stable and steady growth.
Social Security Administration, there are more than 334,000 beneficiaries here in Palm Beach County.
Seniors are the most vulnerable because they have no way of making more money. I'm going to go to the back because I haven't done that. Go ahead, Gav.
Thanks, Corinne. On the 58th anniversary of the Selma to Montgomery March, also known as Bloody Sunday, we know the President Biden will be in Selma on Sunday to give remarks. Last year, Vice President Harris gave remarks and traveled. Why was it important for the President to vote this year? And is there anything you can preview about his speech, whether he'll talk about voting rights or even an issue that's important to the black community, which is the censoring?
And some taxpayers will get a check mailed to them instead. The refund is separate from any money Indiana residents may have received after filing their individual state income tax return. Folks, it is finally happening. President Biden is ready for more stimulus checks to be sent out, and I definitely agree that he could do a better job in helping out the American people with more stimulus payments. If you think that President Biden should send out more stimulus checks this year in 2022, tell me in the comments. Some of the 330,000 Massachusetts residents should expect to receive $500 payments in June. The administration announced that the second round of the Crisis Essential Premium Pay Program is about to begin. The amounts to $165 million, funded through federal crisis relief dollars. Checks will be mailed automatically to eligible Massachusetts residents. In the first round of the program in March, distributed $500 checks to about 480,000 people. Officials said that people who received those payments are not eligible for this latest stimulus funding. Also not eligible are those who received unemployment benefits in 2021 or a crisis relief linked payment from the Massachusetts state government as their employer. The Baker administration will gauge eligibility for the program's second based on 2021 tax returns. The criteria encompasses individuals who earned at least $13,500. And according to state officials, that equates to a maximum income threshold for a single filer of $38,000. The maximum threshold is $52,000 for a household of two. Now, the program's website states that payments are not subject to state income tax, but they may be to federal income tax. There are also about 300,000 lower and middle income families in Connecticut, stated to receive $250 per child tax rebate this summer. The rebates are part of the $663 million in tax relief, included in a state budget that the governor recently signed into law and is touting as part of his re-election campaign. The governor said during a press conference, "I'm going to do everything I can to make Connecticut the most family-friendly state in the country." Republicans are equating the checks, which are expected to go out in late August, with the income tax rebates that the governor gave out in 1998, which Democrats criticized at the time as election year handouts. In recent years, Democrats led by Representatives have tried to establish a new child tax credit in Connecticut, but the effort has so far failed. Connecticut is among nearly 3 dozen states that are seizing on flush budget coffers to provide tax relief to their residents, to ease the burden of record high inflation. Republicans have said that the relief doesn't go far enough, while Democrats are pointing to federal rules that limit the amount of tax cuts that states, which use the crisis relief money to balance their budgets, can provide. The U.S. economy is far better shape than it was at the onset of the crisis 2 years ago. GDP growth is up significantly, and many workers, especially lower earners, have seen a boost in wages, though the effect of this has been tempered by recent inflation. 2 years ago, the new crisis and ensuing economic effects created much more uncertainty in the economy, with spiking unemployment and entire sectors of the economy shutting down. In response, the federal government